Few creatures have played such an intrinsic role in the evolution of a nation, and yet many members of the Lama family have been exploited to the brink of oblivion. Royo is angry. Since dawn, he has been protecting his patch from intruders. His is a well-defined grazing area high on the bleak, scrubby plains of the Pampa Galeras, and winter has left little enough grass to nourish his own clan. Stray vicuña must find their own ground, their own food. Royo has dealt with interlopers before, and soon the stranger returns to the outskirts. But Royo's kind has survived greater trauma than fending off the occasional opportunist. For thousands of years, man has coveted the fleece of the vicuña. Animals were herded into giant pits and slaughtered for their wool, softer than cashmere, still the world's finest. Nobles of the great Inca civilization worshipped the vicuña, wearing nothing but clothes woven from the precious fleece. This privilege was enforced so strongly that anyone who was not royalty was executed when caught wearing vicuña fiber. But the Incas share the blame for the demise of this gentle member of the camel family. When the Spanish invaded Peru nearly 500 years ago, nearly 2 million vicuña grazed the Andean plains. By last century, numbers had dwindled to a few thousand, living in isolated pockets on the Puna, the high plateau of tussock grass and tufts of stunted alpine flowers. Royo's intruder is back. A young bachelor vicuña who will challenge the big male's clan supremacy. Royo rules his family of 8 females and their crias, or young. He determines membership and controls the daily activities of his group. The confrontation causes concern among the rest of the clan, but the interloper gets the message. Next time he'll find another family with a less aggressive male. It was almost too late for the vicuña by the time it was proclaimed an officially endangered species. 30 years ago, the vast Pampa Galeras Reserve was set aside in an attempt to save the animal. Here, 4,000 meters above the warm currents of the Pacific, the vicuña would finally be left alone. Life hasn't been so harsh for the vicuña's cousin, the llama. Domesticated for thousands of years, this large cameloid roams in farmed herds across the central Andes. The llama's practical role as a pack animal has saved it from a fate similar to that of its wild counterpart. In remote areas, its coarse wool is still sheared. But the llama's reputation as a hardy workhorse through the ages has made it invaluable for mountain communities. Today, it is synonymous with Peru. As Western civilization decorates pets with collars, coats, and color, so too the Peruvian peasants adorn their llamas. Peludo's red bows are a sign of his dominance over the herd. His harem prefers pink. Llamas are gregarious creatures, content to herd together with other animals. Here, in the depths of Colca, the world's deepest canyon, farming communities still use terraces built by the Incas to grow their crops. Time hasn't changed agricultural ways for these people, nor has it changed the animals they use. Alvaro and his younger brother Poco let off steam. Llamas are pregnant for 11 months, so the babies are well developed when born. Alvaro is nearly a year old. He left his mother 4 months ago, but she still keeps an eye on him. Female llamas have very little milk, so the babies are weaned early. Births are single and usually every 2 years. Male llamas have little to do with their offspring, but they are easily irritated. In this case, Father Guapo has had enough. Spitting is the way llamas show their anger and tells the youngsters the game is over. The llama's closest relative is the alpaca. This woolly cameloid has been kept by Peruvian peasants for nearly 5,000 years. Its fleece is finer than sheep's wool, and the animal yields about 5 kilograms when shorn every 2 years. But the alpaca is also a good companion. The shepherd chats softly to her pet while knitting his wool into a blanket. While alpaca farming is becoming big business in many parts of the world, 98% of alpacas are still living in the highlands of Peru, Chile, and Argentina. The sweet nature of the alpaca gave them a central place in Inca society, and the animals took part in most religious ceremonies. Like the vicuña, their fine wool was woven into cloth for royalty. These crias are just a few weeks old, but like the llama, they are born after a long gestation. As a result, infant mortality is low. A cria weighs about 7 kilograms when born and is walking and suckling within an hour of its birth. This little female alpaca was born 2 days ago. She fell asleep in the grass and has now lost her mother in the large roaming herd. But alpacas are the most social of the llama family, and the herd will look after the little cria. The female llama sits with her until her mother is found.
What have mantids, the Chinese and bedwetting got in common? Males, on the other hand, have a courtship kiss. Not something I tried myself.
Total entertainment. An evening with Chris Packham. Sundays at 2000 on Animal Planet.
Discovery Channel, je leert hoe de dinosauriërs leefden en uitstierven, hoe vliegtuigen in elkaar zitten en zelfs onze hersens werken. Je leert echt veel door naar Discovery Channel te kijken.
Der er alt på Discovery Channel. Jeg har altid været fascineret af havet og dets stemninger, så Discovery Channel er en kanal lige efter min smag.
Канал Discovery. Мои дети его просто обожают. Оставляешь их у телевизора и знаешь, что они научатся чему-нибудь полезному. Канал Discovery держит свое слово, и это здорово. У меня и своих забот хватает.
Discovery Channel har verkligen lärt mig något. Att laviner kunde vara så intressanta. Tänkte att begravas igen. Sen såg jag några program på Discovery Channel. Vilken upplevelse!
Odkąd oglądam Discovery, mam nową obsesję. Niebo, wszechświat pełen gwiazd. Trochę tak jak Discovery. Wszechświat, olbrzymi i piękny.
I programmi di Discovery che preferisco sono quelli sulle automobili. Grandi, piccole, veloci, lente. Ci sono tutte. Discovery Channel è quasi meglio che guidare.
Discovery Channel, a universal language. As recently as 1979, there were over 1.25 million African elephants in the wild. Today, less than half that number remain. At the turn of the century, 250,000 blue whales inhabited the Earth's southern ocean. Today, a few hundred remain. 25 years ago, there were 65,000 black rhinos. Now, there are only about 2,400. At the turn of the century, about 100,000 Bengal tigers roamed the India subcontinent. Today, fewer than 4,000 survive in the wild. Once, monk seals were a common sight in the Mediterranean. About 500 are alive today. Extinction is forever. The International Fund for Animal Welfare means they still have a chance.
Take a ride to the underworld. where death lurks in dark corners and trouble is never far away. Lone killers haunt the highways, and dark forces move through the shadows. Enter a deadly region where killing never stops. Enter the underworld on Animal Planet.
Better be careful, it can be a wild world out there. But to one lady, that's an invitation. Michaela Strachan.
Well, I've bathed with the proper duck before, but I've never had a bath with an elephant.
We're going to go one step further. I'm going to get in the water.
Well, obviously you've got to take some precautions. I wasn't even scared.
From the shores of Britain to the wilds of Africa, Michaela Strachan brings the wild world of animals into focus on Animal Planet.
Alpacas can live up to 25 years in their nomadic herds, but peasants and farming communities will never keep just one animal, as it will die if isolated from its species. Such is the social dependency of the alpaca. It's a sign of the times across the brown hills of the Peruvian highlands. Anti-poaching units must patrol the barren habitat of the vicuña and its rare counterpart, the fleet-footed guanaco. Here, above the tree line, highly trained marksmen await poachers and illicit hunters prepared to risk their lives for the pelts of these wild creatures. On today's market, a coat made from vicuña fleece is worth more than £10,000. The rarity of the vicuña itself and the softness of its fleece has made the animal's hair the world's most prized natural fiber.
In the early 1990s, the government entrusted the future of the vicuña to the people of Peru. Legislation had failed to stop poaching, and the only way to protect the vicuña was to allow the Indian peasants to actually make money from its hair, legally. Giving custody of the vicuña to the people meant there would be a greater incentive to protect their investment from illegal traders.
Credit for the revival of the vicuña falls on the shoulders of one man, Alfonso Martinez, a native of the Quechua people, an ancient Indian tribe from the southern Andes. Martinez persuaded the Peruvian government to place ownership of the vicuña where it belonged, with the descendants of the Inca Sun Kings. The Indian communities guided by Martinez formed the International Society of Vicuña Breeders, a group representing all villages with vicuña habitat in their area. Today, the society of 300 communities collectively negotiates the sale of fleece from the vicuña they inherited from their Inca ancestors.
We feel we have given the vicuña its first real chance at life. In the times of the Incas, the animals were herded into deep traps dug across the pampas. They would fall into these traps and die after breaking a leg. Many of these traps still exist. We keep them to remember just how bad things have been for the vicuña.
Alfonso Martinez's dream for the vicuña is taking shape. Changing the animal's international category from an endangered species to one which would allow its fleece to be harvested and manufactured into cloth has in fact curtailed much of the illegal trade. In the words of one conservationist, no poacher is interested in shooting a shorn vicuña. And the battle cry, shear a vicuña to save a vicuña, is echoed in the resurrection of the ancient ceremonial hunt, the chaku.
Acérquese a la malla. Agárrense de la mano. Uniforme, vente. Acá pues, acá.
Today's chakus are low-key affairs compared with the annual ritual held during the time of the Incas. 30,000 Indians would form a half-circle chanting and beating drums as the vicuña panicked before them. After the animals were herded into a corner, they were counted and the old and sick slaughtered for their skins. The healthy specimens were then shorn and released. These days, most Indian communities hold their own chaku. The teeth and hair are checked, but depending on the length of its fleece, the vicuña isn't always shorn. They are then released back into their habitat, the ordeal over for another year.
Rápido.
Less conspicuous on the vast Peruvian plateau, the gentle guanaco has benefited little from the publicity surrounding its close relative. Larger than the vicuña, its soft caramel hair has made it too a target through history. Today there are about 50,000 guanaco scattered across the south of the continent, mainly in Chile and Argentina. Originally, there were tens of millions which grazed the arid Andean slopes prior to European arrival. For centuries, the guanaco was essential to the Patagonian Indians. They hunted it for its meat, hair, skin for clothes, and used its image in mythology. Today, the guanaco is considered a pest in many parts of South America. Farming communities resent the herds grazing on land needed for sheep and cattle. Despite its endangered listing, hunters in parts of Argentina are still able to harvest pelts and wool worth millions of pounds. There is little regard for the preservation of this elegant member of the Lama family. The guanaco's size and grey-black face distinguish it from the vicuña, but its behavior is very similar. Here the dominant male senses danger and orders his females back. His high-pitched cry signals danger, a warning to the herd. Satisfied, the big male leads his family over the next ridge. A female and her young chulengo straggle behind, then run to catch up with the group. Food will be short for the guanaco this summer. Although they need little water to survive, the stubbly grass is dry and withered from the lack of rain, and the herds will roam to lower ground. There are few countries with a culture as rich in diversity as Peru. Its ancient sites remain largely untouched. Lack of funds has hindered restoration. The absence of any known written language means access to cultural records requires archaeological excavation. But a framework of Peruvian cultures is being pieced together slowly, revealing an ancient wealth equaling that of Egypt and the Mediterranean. Fossil footprints found in California show that llamas originated in North America about 50 million years ago. Some animals crossed the Bering Strait into Asia and onto North Africa, where they evolved into camels, while others moved down the South American coast. Animals and birds have always played an important role in Peruvian life, a fact played out in the uncanny Nazca lines, huge, mystery figures etched into the desert and seen only from the air. The hummingbird is one of the best preserved shapes, all of which measure between 20 and 300 meters long. Theories concerning the origins of the lines near the small coastal town of Nazca range from extraterrestrial visits to an appeasement for the gods. However, the most popular explanation is that the figures represent a vast calendar that determines seasons and religious festivals. As the desert winds continue to scuff and erode the landscape, it's likely the Nazca lines will remain an enigma, fueled occasionally by new theories and tourist speculation. The Andes and the Himalayan mountain ranges are the largest in the world, and for the people of these remote rooftop regions, their most important possession is their yak or llama. Both animals provide their communities with the only means of transport in rough terrain, as well as raw materials, pelts for shelter, meat for survival. Although not related, yaks and llamas are specially adapted to living at high altitudes. Their blood develops extra red blood cells, which enables them to use oxygen more efficiently. Thick woolly hair helps keep the animals warm, although for this day-old cria, being cold and hungry is all a bit much. The little cria considers his options. The fertile valley offers lush pasture, but it will be some weeks before he is weaned. Crias are regular victims of spitting females. In their first 2 weeks, the young llamas will often go to the wrong female for a feed. The outraged llama usually shows her disapproval by spitting at the young cria. The small cria finds his mother, but there will be no milk until she has eaten. Newborn llamas are at their most vulnerable during the first few days. If cold and lack of nourishment are combined, a baby will not live long. Male llamas indulge in mating behavior from the age of 6 months, although most aren't sexually mature until they are at least 2 years old. This young male is persistent in his attentions. Subtlety and skill, however, are not his strong points. Most farming communities across the southern Andes run combined herds of llama and alpaca. During their rule, the Incas selectively bred alpacas to produce a fine, dense fiber, as well as a large array of colors. Today, alpacas produce 22 natural earth tones in a wool prized by the fashion industry worldwide. The fleece of the alpaca is stronger and much warmer than wool, with a delicacy sought after by weavers and spinners. Unlike other natural fibres, it is hollow, which makes it lightweight while still giving thermal warmth. Textiles have played an important role in Peru since the Inca civilization. In the early 1990s, terrorist groups overran the mountain alpaca farms, causing havoc for breeders. Since then, the government has encouraged the production of alpaca fibre, and today worldwide demand for the fleece has made the industry one of the fastest growing in Peru.
What have mantids, the Chinese and bedwetting got in common? Males, on the other hand, have a courtship kiss. Not something I tried myself.
Total entertainment. An evening with Chris Packham. Sundays at 2000 on Animal Planet.
Did you know that after a hard day at the Colosseum, some hungry Romans would pop out for a takeaway hamburger? That in the 1st century before Christ, the Italians invented the taximeter, and that they invented concrete. We think we're so smart, but how much of what we invent today has already been invented and forgotten in the past? Rediscover your history with Discovery Channel.
This is the story of a place known as the Hidden City. The Hidden City is the biggest city on Earth, even though no people actually live there. But it's filled with the most magical animals in the world. Where is the Hidden City? To find it, you have to look in the land, beneath the sea. The Hidden City is also known as the Coral Reef, and it may be the most important city in the world, because more species live here than any other place on Earth. Unfortunately, pollution is harming the coral reef. 70% of it will perish in our lifetime if we don't begin protecting it now. Which won't just affect the clownfish and the grouper or the eel. It'll affect us all, because the reefs sustain the ocean, and the ocean sustains the earth. And some even think that hidden inside the Hidden City may be new medicines and other life-saving cures. The city may be hidden, but the message is easy to see. Protect the coral reef, and we protect the ocean. Protect the ocean, and we protect the earth.
They say dogs are like their owners. It's coming home to somebody.
No matter what type of mood I'm in.
She's there waiting to greet me.
They live for you.
Better than a partner.
I've been through 3 wives, 2 dozen cars, 4 or 5 houses. All the others have come and gone, mate, but he's still with me.
He likes to bark along to a kazoo.
She thinks she's a cat.
He don't like the place.
He literally is the difference between life and death.
Just the most amazing guy I've ever met in my life.
I love them dearly.
He's just a real friend.
He's just so soppy. I can't imagine life without my dog.
Passionate about your pet?
I love my dog.
You're not alone with Animal Planet.
Early signs of spring break through the chill of Pampa Galeras, the vast tableland today held sacred for the vicuña. Wild grasses split the melting ice, and a parting snowfall dusts the young herd. Many are newly shorn from a recent chaku. They will be warmer in summer. The hunters have pulled back, but man is still a threat to the vicuña. A road straggles through the pampa, heavy with trucks and tourists. Confused, the herd are in disarray. Accidents are not uncommon. A lone vicuña finds a break in the fence. A passing truck has scattered his herd. They will regroup by the river. Even on this protected pampa, there are dangers. The wary condor with its 3-meter wingspan has been known to swoop on young vicuña. But the traditional natural enemy of the vicuña and its cameloid cousins is the South American puma, or mountain lion, revered by the Incas as a symbol of power and grace. The puma too has suffered as a result of indiscriminate hunting, and the fleet-footed cat is now rarely seen across its Andes habitat. Ears back, a sign of alarm from the young vicuña. There is an intruder nearby. Our cameras are hidden, but the animal's sense of smell is acute. Vicuña groups need no fences to mark out their territory. So effective are their dung piles as natural boundaries that one group seldom ventures into the domain of another. While many animals mark their ground with scent glands, vicuña scatter middens, thereby alerting both family and intruders to each group's patch. As a giant mosaic, the social groups of the vicuña fit together. Territories join as the different groups face each other across invisible boundaries. The big male leads his group to drink. A rival family watches from its own turf. There will be no crossing of paths. Each herd knows how far it may go. herd moves away from the waterhole, away from any confrontation. But a new drama is developing. The vicuña gives birth once a year, and the crias are due next month. When that occurs, it is the way of the animal to expel last year's young males from the herd. Food is short, and all the females in Royo's harem are pregnant. So his son from last year must learn to fend for himself. Royo's family moves away as if embarrassed by this cruel rejection. This little vicuña puts up some resistance against his father's attack, but his fate is inevitable. He will spend tonight alone, the first of many vulnerable to desert foxes, pumas, an easy target for remaining poachers. Dust settles over the plateau, layering the nearby hills with a fine mist. A herd of vicuña drifts past, grazing alpacas. There is no animosity between these different members of the camel family. Each knows the ground rules. For the shaggy alpaca, it's time for a dust sauna. Their motley wool is a prime target for flying insects. Late afternoon spreads across the high barren country. Spilling into the Pacific, the world's tallest sand dune hovers above the town of Nazca. Across the peaks, snowcaps give birth to the mighty Amazon. Rainforests shade a tangle of roots, a canopy of green, home to millions of species. This is a land as hybrid as its people, a community which has resisted change, a society which, like the vicuña, has been a victim of civilization. Allowing the ancestors of the Incas to care for this wild creature of the plateau not only ensures its survival, but provides an ongoing legacy from the forebears of this legendary empire.
From the land of the Lamas to the turtles at Lara, for many years turtle soup and turtle shell was in so much demand that the number of turtles worldwide began to get dangerously low. Visit Cyprus, where the government have done something about it, next on Animal Planet.
Are you crazy about your pet? Is your pet a hero? If so, write to us and tell us why. We want to find the most amazing pets and their owners so that we can reward them. All letters must be in by the end of April, so send us your stories to Animal Planet Pet Awards, PO Box 63, Whitney DO OX 298HN.
What stimulates your mind? Breathtaking landscapes, spectacular diversity and colour, revelations from the past, or glimpses of the future, wonders of construction, or perhaps the celebration of life in all its forms. Discovery Channel, dedicated to inspiring people all over the world.
The wheel of life turns, and as it turns, we are reborn. In my past lives, I have been many animals. Once I was an eagle, flying high in the mountains. I was a frog, an elephant. Come, feel my trunk. Reincarnation, it's where it's at, man. Once I was a sperm whale. Once I was a leopard, and I stalked my prey in the jungle. Reliving my animal lives gives me cosmic peace. Human life is too... I can't take it. Animals are far out. They're cool. It's like they're natural somehow.
Don't take his word for it. Take ours. Animals are better than humans. Yes.
The Great White North. Barren and forbidding, this is not an easy place to eke out an existence. But one animal, the polar bear, has adapted beautifully to thrive in this environment. Polar bears are closely related to brown bears. 100,000 to 250,000 years ago, some brown bears were separated from the rest of the population by glaciers. Instead of becoming extinct, they quickly evolved to make the best of a bad situation. Their brown hair turned white and developed into a series of short, downy hairs surrounding longer, clear guard hairs. The guard hairs are hollow so that sunlight can travel down to heat the bear's black skin. They became bow-legged too. This awkward-looking stance allows better balance on the snow and ice. Their furry feet provide traction as well as warmth. Polar bears also became excellent swimmers. Their Latin name, Ursus maritimus, means sea bear, and like walruses, seals and whales, they are actually classed as a marine mammal. Unlike other bears, polar bears have a 4-inch layer of blubber to keep them from freezing. They have powerful forepaws and webbing between their toes to help paddle. Most of their diet consists of seals. Polar bears frequently swim up to 100 kilometers at a stretch and have even been spotted 160 kilometers from land searching for their next meal. They also hunt on land. White on white is a great disguise, so polar bears frequently cover their black noses with snow to help them blend better. Once they catch their prey, the bears strip off the protein-rich, fatty skin and leave the rest for the scavenger of the north, the Arctic fox. Starvation is the leading cause of premature death in polar bears. They have no natural predators. To survive up here, hunting skills are crucial. So what isn't instinctual, they learn from their mothers. Polar bear cubs stay with their mother for up to 2.5 years. With her, they gain the confidence and survival skills necessary for growing old in this icy wasteland, all the while growing bigger and stronger by nursing on her milk, which is 33% fat. The young cubs need no help learning to make the best of this winter wonderland. It all looks like fun and games, but whether they know it or not, these cubs are actually preparing for adulthood and the battles that will surely come. The polar bear population numbers close to 40,000, and their lifespan is nearly 20 years. During that time, a single bear can travel across 260,000 square kilometers of frozen wilderness, caring for young, searching for food, and mating. Using the resources nature gave them, battling to survive in this place few others in the animal kingdom are equipped to call home.
Two great premieres this Saturday night on Animal Planet. The first at 8 visits the killer whales in Vancouver and the rarest British amphibian in Postcards from the Wild. Our second premiere meets the seaborne invaders of North America, the zebra mussels, at 8:30. Then at 9, Steve Irwin is the crocodile hunter meeting sharks down under. An incisive night on Animal Planet. In half an hour, we are walking with leopards. First, visit Cyprus, where they're trying to stop the demand for turtle soup and shells. Meet the turtles of Lara.
For thousands of years, the Mediterranean Sea has been home to the loggerhead and green turtles. But recently their existence has become endangered, not from their many natural predators, but from the presence of man. This is the story of one team's effort to redress the turtle's plight and protect this graceful creature in its natural habitat. The golden sands of Lara, tucked into the Lamas Peninsula on the western tip of Cyprus, are prime nesting grounds for marine turtles. Andreas and Marula Dimitropoulos head the research centre here, part of a protection programme introduced by the Cypriot government in 1978. For whilst Lara is an historic home to the turtles, the beaches of Cyprus are visited by 2.5 million tourists each year. This disturbance of nesting sites has led to a massive decline in turtle numbers. During the breeding season, from May to September, there can be as many as 500 turtle nestings, and every morning the beaches are searched for new sites. Some of the young from this turtle nest have already hatched and headed for the sea. When leaving the nest, the hatchlings use each other as a ladder as they clamber to the surface. Without the support of the others, the late hatchlings have difficulty reaching the top of the nest and are sometimes trapped. To help them, the research team digs up the nest to liberate the trapped hatchlings. Without this intervention, few of the late hatchlings would survive. Studying the empty eggshells reveals important information for the research team. Each half shell is matched with another in order to determine the total number of eggs in the nest. The loggerhead turtle is distinguished by its completely dark brown colour. Its shell is made up of 5 segments known as coastal shields. It also has 2 claws. The green turtle shell is made up of 4 coastal shields. Green turtles have a white underbelly, only 1 claw, and when fully grown are usually bigger than the loggerhead. After a hot morning's work, the rescued hatchlings are taken back to the base camp, and to maintain a moderate temperature, they will be kept in a cool box until their release later in the day. An ever-growing number of tourists visit Lara each year, an essential factor in the island's economy. Although they are welcomed by the research team, they are asked not to use beach umbrellas, as the stems from these can damage unmarked turtle nests. The discovery of a turtle nest too close to the water's edge has prompted Andreas to move it to the hatchery, which is safely set back from the sea. If the surf pushes past the nest, the eggs will be saturated and destroyed. Today's many visitors to Lara are also a deciding factor. The difference in pressure felt through a hollow tube probed into the sand helps Andreas determine the exact location of the nest. This rather unusual activity draws curious onlookers. Digging up a new nest requires great care, as the freshly laid eggs are still soft and fragile. This nest is that of a green turtle, meaning the eggs should lie about half a metre below the sand. A cool box is used to temporarily house the eggs during their short journey from the beach to the hatchery. To simulate the same conditions for the new man-made nest to which these eggs will be transferred, all the dimensions of the original nest are accurately recorded. The crashing surf is a stark reminder as to why the nest has to be moved. To help sustain the same temperature, sand from the nest is used to incubate the eggs in the cool box. Back at the hatchery, a new nest is prepared. When making her nest, the green turtle hollows out a chamber in the cool lower reaches of the sand. It's here that the bulk of the eggs will go. When they are satisfied the same conditions as the original nest have been reproduced, Andreas' team begins the relocation, placing each egg carefully one on top of the other. Transferring such a large number of eggs is slow work. With the last egg in place, the chamber is loosely filled with sand, in the same manner as the female turtle would have originally done. To ward off predators like ghost crabs, seagulls and foxes, The nest is covered with a protective metal cage. Up to 70% of turtle nests are lost to foxes alone, who relish a meal of turtle eggs. With such heavy odds against their survival to begin with, it's small wonder that further disturbances can have such a devastating effect on the turtle population. With the last rays of daylight fast approaching, the temperature has dropped, and this is an ideal time to release the hatchlings rescued from the beaches earlier in the day. It's widely believed that marine turtles have a natural imprinting mechanism. For this reason, the hatchlings are released several meters from the water's edge in the hope that this beach will be imprinted in their memories as their birthplace. If this information is correct, the females from this batch of green hatchlings should return as adults to this beach and lay their eggs some 25 years from now. The loggerhead females should return to do the same in roughly 17 years. Eager to start its new life in the sea, the last hatchling scrambles its way through the surf, leaving behind it a warm glow over Lara. The hatchery is a short walk from the base camp, and during the busy breeding season it has to be checked regularly for new hatchlings. These loggerhead hatchlings are raring to go, and since there are fewer predators in the sea at night, they're quickly scooped up in preparation for their release. This nest will be dug up 2 days from now to liberate any late hatchlings still trapped at the bottom of the nest. Meanwhile, this is a healthy batch of loggerheads, so far numbering 49 and counting. The hatchlings are released well back from the water's edge, allowing them ample time to memorize this beach. Young hatchlings are attracted by the moonlight's reflection off the water, and this batch is determined to reach the sea, undaunted even by this character. At 3 times their size, the ghost crab is a deadly threat to the young turtles, so deadly that well over half will be taken on their short yet perilous journey to the water. Those that do survive take to the seas to begin their new lives.
What?
Don't miss March's movies, okay?
What?
I said don't miss March's month of movies on Animal Planet.
The story of Tarka the otter. He lived in a place of great beauty. But behind the beauty lurked a world of fear and danger. Tarka's struggle to survive. Narrated by Peter Ustinov, a movie classic. Tarka the Otter, Sunday at 15:05 on Animal Planet.
Discovery Channel, je leert hoe de dinosauriërs leefden en uitstierven, hoe vliegtuigen in elkaar zitten en zelfs hoe onze hersens werken. Je leert echt veel door naar Discovery Channel te kijken.
Der er alt på Discovery Channel. Jeg har altid været fascineret af havet og dets stemninger, så Discovery Channel er en kanal lige efter min smag.
Канал Discovery. Мои дети его просто обожают. Оставляешь их у телевизора и знаешь, что они научатся чему-нибудь полезному. Канал Discovery держит свое слово, и это здорово. У меня и своих забот хватает.
Discovery Channel har verkligen lärt mig något. Att laviner kunde vara så intressanta. Tänkte att begravas igen. Sen såg jag några program på Discovery Channel. Vilken upplevelse!
Odkąd oglądam Discovery, mam nową obsesję. Niebo, wszechświat pełen gwiazd. Trochę tak jak Discovery. Wszechświat, olbrzymi i piękny.
I programmi di Discovery che preferisco sono quelli sulle automobili. Grandi, piccole, veloci, lente. Ci sono tutte. Discovery Channel è quasi meglio che guidare.
Discovery Channel, a universal language.
Better be careful, it can be a wild world out there. But to one lady, that's an invitation. Michaela Strachan.
Well, I've bathed with a rubber duck before, but I've never had a bath with an elephant.
I'm going to get in the water.
And I wasn't even scared.
From the shores of Britain to the wilds of Africa, Michaela Strachan brings the wild world of animals into focus on Animal Planet.
Wherever there's a problem, whatever's wrong, whenever and however it happens, and whoever it happens to, you can rest assured that on Animal Planet, there's a full cast of vets just waiting to try and put things right.
The sight of a turtle gliding peacefully through the ocean is truly marvelous. Although unintentional, the presence of recreational divers often frightens these timid creatures. This is a problem that the Lara project has helped to highlight through an awareness campaign based on a lesson all humans would perhaps do well to learn, and that's not to interfere with these gentle animals. Back on dry land, the hatchlings also face a threat from unwitting humans. For in order to reach the surface, they must push through the loose sand left by their mothers. However, if this sand is compressed by beach users, the To avoid this, Nests that are found by the members of the Lara project on an open beach are covered with protective cages. These are clearly marked and numbered, and they have several exit routes through which the hatchlings can escape when they're ready. Most of the hatchlings find the exit routes with relative ease, though some don't catch on quite as quickly as others. The Akama's shoreline can only be reached by means of four-wheel drive vehicles or by boat. This is fortunate for the turtles' nesting needs, but the increased boating activity has brought with it more turtle injuries, and these are taken to Lara to be cared for. Being a first-time visitor to Lara, this green turtle is tagged and photographed, and his statistics are recorded. Luckily, his injuries are not too severe, and a simple application of antiseptic should defeat any possible infections. To reduce his stress, the team works quickly. He may look unhappy now, but he's soon back in the sea again. Like other parts of the Mediterranean, the increase in tourism in Cyprus has significantly reduced the areas of coastline once used by the turtles for nesting, and in their effort to find additional breeding grounds, the turtles have been forced to expand their territory in search of new nesting sites. New nests were recently found on a beach at the British Army base of Akrotiri. Known as Shipwreck Beach, these shores are several miles from Lara. The discovery of the nests prompted the formation of a Turtle Watch group, which has since been trained and equipped by the Lara research team. The group is enjoying much success with its project, and overseas students are brought to Akrotiri to study the turtles. Today they're digging up a nest to free those hatchlings still trapped at the bottom and in need of human help. For some of the visiting students, this is a first-time opportunity to hold a baby turtle, and one not to be missed. New hatchlings require 2 days to absorb the nutrients from the yolk sac. Those still attached to the yolk are not yet ready for the sea and will be kept in incubation until the detachment takes place naturally. The group's hard work is rewarded with a healthy batch of loggerheads eager to reach the sea. The beaches to the west of Lara, at Polis, are quite different. The coastline here is a combination of sand and pebbles which is constantly shifting. The protection of turtle nests in this environment involves using a flat grill rather than a circular cage. Once these grills have been anchored by heavy stones and buried under several centimeters of sand, they will form an effective barrier against predators even if the surface sand shifts. Leveling off the sand completes the operation, and the nest is numbered and marked. This will help the team in finding the nest again and hopefully deter people from walking across it in the future. Through the Lara project, the number of hatchlings is steadily increasing each year. This particular year, almost 10,000 hatchlings have reached the sea. But even the healthy ones are vulnerable, and only a few will escape their predators. It's estimated that as few as 1% will survive to reach adulthood, and with such a toll taken, the hatchlings need every bit of help the Lara team can offer.
Lindsay goes nearer me, then you further away, because I'll pass to Lindsay.
At Shipwreck Beach, the crowd's patience is about to be rewarded, and some spectators have taken up grandstand seating. A newly hatched nest of turtles is about to take to the seas.
What they have to do now, we have to release them, they'll smell the sand, and they'll know where to come back.
Following their instincts and the setting sun, the last few hatchlings are swept towards their new life in the eastern Mediterranean. Back at the Lara base camp, conditions are right for females to beach tonight and lay their eggs. When approaching the beach to make her nest, the female turtle is so sensitive to light that even the glimmer of a torch beam can frighten her back to the sea. To reduce this risk, image-intensifying binoculars are used to search for nesting females. Highlighting the contrast of the surf line, the beach is scanned for turtle tracks. A single set of tracks leading from the sea would indicate the female has not yet returned to the water and is possibly making her nest. When her instincts tell her that conditions are safe, the female chooses a spot to make her nest. She hollows out a chamber to her liking and begins to lay her eggs. The female turtle can lay as many as 180 eggs at one time, and both green and loggerhead turtles can nest up to 5 times in one season, normally at intervals of around 2 weeks. Such a prolific rate of laying is necessary given the hatchling's precarious chances of reaching adulthood. The records show that this green turtle female has nested here 3 times already this season. The nesting process is long and arduous and can take up to 3 hours, leaving the mother turtle close to exhaustion. Her return journey to the sanctuary of the sea is often interrupted for a much-needed rest. The first hatchlings will appear 7 to 8 weeks after the nest is made. Instinctively, they head for the moonlight reflected from the sea. These young loggerheads have some distance to travel before reaching the relative safety of the water. It's a vulnerable time for the youngsters, as they're easy pickings for waiting predators, and as we have seen, mortality at this stage is high. Some hatchlings are kept at Lara until they're big enough to stand a better chance of survival to adulthood. They are given a head start to withstand the growing demands on their territory from humans and in their struggle against extinction. These young turtles are 3 to 4 years old, and there is every reason to hope that they will return to these shores in the future. They too will have to fight for their survival in the sea, just as their forebears have done for thousands of years. But those who do make the return journey to their ancestral breeding grounds can be assured that despite the increasing pressure on their beaches, a warm welcome awaits them at Lara.
We visit a unique animal shelter next today in Namibia, where amazingly leopards are taken for a walk. We're walking with leopards in a couple of minutes.
The enemy is within. They're natural-born killers. Public enemy number 1. These animals are intruders. With no natural predators, they're breeding out of control. A fascinating new series on Animal Planet.
Evil menace. Wow.
The ecosystems are dying, slowly disintegrating under the teeth and claws of these tireless invaders. The ecologies they populate are literally drowning by numbers. Intruders, Saturdays at 20:30 on Animal Planet.
They live on a planet that is 80% covered by water. Water connects them. It sustains their very lives. And if it's polluted, it will harm them. We're not talking about whales. We're talking about ourselves. Remember, the Earth is a water planet.
I guess I've always really loved monkeys. So when Animal Planet asked me to spend some time at Monkey World, which is a unique primate rescue centre, I couldn't say no. Can I get something here? It was an important scientific experiment, but it was so much more. Get your finger out of my ear. I'm gonna miss those hairy guys, you know. We were one big family. And who am I, really? They're the real heroes.
In 30 minutes, You Lie Like a Dog raises a few eyebrows, as does our documentary now on Animal Planet, as we go walking with leopards.
In an ideal world, we would prefer not to see wild animals behind bars. But this leopard is one of the lucky ones. He lives in an area of Namibia that is strictly cattle country. As the human population has increased, the big cats and other wildlife of the area have been poisoned, trapped and shot by farmers protecting their domesticated cattle. Yet in the heart of this country is an animal refuge known as the Harness Wildlife Foundation. This film is about one day in the life of this sanctuary for wildlife in the heart of the African savannah. Today is set to be a memorable one for the family at Harness. For over a year now, they have been constructing an 8-hectare leopard camp on the outskirts of the farm, funded largely by private donations and visitors. If all goes to plan, the last of 4 leopard cubs born on the farm will be released this afternoon. In their new environment, the animals will develop their natural abilities and instincts and live an almost free life. Initially a small refuge centre founded in 1978 by Nick and Mariette van der Merwe, Harness is now home to over 25 species of animal, many of them endangered in the wild. This morning's foray into the bush is tinged with both hope for the leopard's future and sadness that they must say goodbye to the animals. Leopards are arguably the most dangerous and most unpredictable among wildcats. It's a fact that all the members of the family are aware of, but with their respect and their love for these animals, they have still managed to make Harness a place where humans take the leopards for a walk. Much of the morning is taken up with preparing food for the bigger carnivores that live on Harness. This is provided by local farms who have sick or old horses to donate. With each of the fully grown cats able to eat around 5 horses per week, that's a lot of horse meat. And the younger cats' appetites are growing all the time. After preparing the meat, Nico and Marlies van der Merwe begin the feeding tour of the 8,000-hectare farm. The area is subdivided into individual camps, large enclosures in which the animals are housed, and the food delivery can take some time. Looking after and feeding the animals is a costly enterprise. But although funds are limited, Nico could never contemplate selling the animals into what would be an uncertain future. He explains the dangers that the lions face from trophy hunters masquerading as private collectors.
The reason we're keeping these lions and not selling them is you can be sure about if you sell them, they will end up being hunted by someone, being shot by a hunter. They give it meat with tranquilizer, they put the lion on a certain spot, and they do a mock search for the lion. It usually is not an immediate death. They shoot the lion in the body for the heart or the lungs. Usually take about 4 or 5 shots to just kill this lion. They don't shoot it in the head because the heads are used for the trophies.
The journey through the farm takes Nico and Marlies to 2 lions living in quarantine. The lions are infected with a terminal disease similar to the human AIDS virus. They arrived here on Harness after the condition was detected during their sail to an animal reservation in South Africa, and it's here they remain, under the family's special care.
They develop a bit slower, especially you see with the males with the mane. They don't have this big black mane like other males. It take them longer to develop. But they live a full life. The lifespan is the same as a normal lion. They're just more susceptible to diseases like tuberculosis. The best is to isolate them, not breed with them, and you can't sell them. And basically they will stay, these 2 males will stay separate from any other lions till the day they die, and we'll keep them. We won't let them go or nothing.
Wild dogs are the most endangered carnivores on Earth. 13 maltreated dogs arrived on Harness in 1997, and following a successful breeding program, they now number more than 20. It's hoped that one day they can be safely returned to the wild. Marlies' favourite animals are the cheetahs, the fastest mammals on Earth. However, even cheetahs used to humans are by no means cuddly pets, and Marlies respects this. She knows her limits with the cats exactly, but there's still time for a little play. Alongside the big cats, there's also room on harness for many other species in need. Baboon babies are often captured by Namibian farmers and kept as pets. When they become older, they are in most cases abandoned in a backyard. The Van der Merwes have often freed undernourished and chained up baboons and given them a new home on harness. An enormous new enclosure is planned for the baboons and will be created as soon as funds permit. The smaller enclosures are situated around the house. These provide a home for the smaller animals, such as this group of marmosets. Marlies explains how they arrived here.
A few years ago, there was a black market in winter, against Balthus, and they shipped in a lot of monkeys and birds. So Nature Conservation took two monkeys from people of Windhoek and send them to us, and they just breed here. That's how we got them. They're marmoset monkeys. They are from North America, from the Amazon. And this one, the reason why he's separate is he's not born here and he's not one of the group. So we can't just put him in there. They will just kill him in seconds.
In 1995, the family set up a guest lodge. Small numbers of tourists now visit harness and take part in game drives. There's always someone around who knows the animals and can tell their story. And every single animal on harness has its own personal story.
There was a time that we had 8 vultures. So we raised them, but this one has a problem with his wing. He can fly only a short distance and then he gets lump and can't fly anymore and just go down. So we're scared he's going to land in the baboon cage or with the lions and they're going to kill him. So that's why we keep him here. But we give him practice, we take him for flights, but the problem is always to get him back here.
Marlies provides the farm's main source of outside income. She's a qualified animal trainer and has taken part in film productions and advertisement shootings, especially with her cheetahs. Training a cheetah, no matter how tame, is a laborious process. It requires a strong bond between animal and trainer, a lot of patience, and more than a few rewards along the way.
At the beginning, how I'm going to start is I will just take him, put a leash on around his neck, and let him start walking and get used to it. And then later on, we put him on a mark, and you work him on a mark, stay in one place, and you pay him by food. If you do something right, you give him food. And at the beginning, you have to put him on a diet at the beginning, and then we have to watch the diet as he's losing weight, and because he's a little bit too fat for a cheetah, but he's doing good.
Some of the animals on harness are more receptive to visitors than others. These lions, reared on the farm from birth, are particularly affectionate. The foster mother of the lions is Sarabi, the farm's dog. She raised the lions, and they all accept her as their natural mother. Even the largest member of the group respects her authority. If left to nature, the lion cubs would never have survived.
These lions were born on harness. The reason why we took them from the parents is The mother, normally with their firstborn, they go and heat again after a week, and they lost their milk, and I mean, we are forced to take them. I don't know if Sarabi's the confused one, the dog, because one of them is really confused. I don't know if she thinks she's a lion or they think they're dogs. One of them are confused.
I guess I've always really loved monkeys. So when Animal Planet asked me to spend some time at Monkey World, which is a unique primate rescue centre, I couldn't say no.
Can I help in here?
It was an important scientific experiment, but it was so much more.
Get your finger out of my ear.
I'm going to miss those hairy guys, you know. We were one big family. And who am I, really? They're the real heroes.